The Hyundai Elantra has had quite a few different faces over the last few years. One would argue it's had more plastic surgery than the Kardashians. I mean, this is what it looked like in 2018, and here it is in 2019. And for 2020, it actually looked exactly the same. And now for 2021, it looks completely different yet again. But this brand new N-Line is a little bit different than all the other regular Hyundai Elantras. So to find out how different it actually is, let's go for a drive. The Elantra N-Line is more than just an appearance package. It actually has some substance underneath the hood. It has a 1.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine that produces 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. By comparison, its closest rival, the Honda Civic Si, produces 205 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. So a little bit more power than this, but a bit less torque. However, the 0 to 100 km/h time in this Elantra N-Line takes about 6.5 seconds. However, unlike its bigger brother, the Sonata N-Line, it doesn't have launch control. So getting the Elantra N-Line going from a stop can be a little bit tricky because the clutch with this 7-speed dual clutch slips a little bit. So you're not getting the full engine's power until the clutch fully engages. At least that's how it feels to me when I put my foot down all the way from a dead stop. But once the clutch is fully engaged, then acceleration is pretty good. It's also a pretty economical little engine. It is rated for 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Currently, I am averaging about 7 liters per 100 kilometers. Most of it is highway driving, about 60% highway, 40% city driving. So in the real world, you can definitely achieve the fuel economy targets. And it does take regular fuel, not premium. So that's always a plus. As for the transmission that is mated to this 1.6-liter engine, here in Canada, it's only a 7-speed dual clutch automatic. If you're watching this in the United States, standard is a 6-speed manual with the 7-speed being an option. I'm not sure why Canada didn't get the manual transmission. It would be nice, especially as a direct competitor to the Civic Si, which is only available with the manual transmission. But you know what? This 7-speed is not that bad. It can feel a little bit hesitant when you're setting off from a stop, but other than that, shifts are quick and shifts are very smooth as well. Some would argue that you can have more fun with the manual transmission, and I completely agree. But you know what? For everyday driving, I think the automatic is just a better bet. Yes, the manual is quite a bit more fun, especially in a car with about 200 horsepower, but for daily commutes, I actually prefer the automatic. The 2021 Elantra N-Line sits on a new chassis, and with an overall weight of 1,370 kilograms, the car feels sporty around twists and turns. It's not a racetrack all-star like its Veloster N cousin. It wasn't meant to be. It strikes a good balance between driving enjoyment and daily commuting. Just be aware when accelerating hard out of a corner that the inside wheel could spin under the torque of the turbocharged engine, with traction control off, of course. With the system engaged, wheel spin is limited, but you can feel through the steering wheel slight hints that the brakes are being applied to control the torque from the engine. Needless to say, this does not have a limited slip differential. the 2022 Elantra N will have a limited slip differential. This being the more sporty version of the Hyundai Elantra, the suspension is a little bit firmer. But you know what? It's not that bad. It's definitely not Hyundai Veloster N firm. You can drive this every day and still feel comfortable. It's not going to break your back, and you definitely don't have to play Minesweeper trying to avoid all the big potholes. You can just drive right over them and you'll be perfectly fine. There is some wind noise and road noise that intrudes into the cabin on a highway, but it's pretty okay for what you're getting and how much you're paying for this car. My only disappointment is with the engine noise. There isn't enough of it. I can barely hear the engine under normal driving conditions. If obviously I decide to be a hooligan and really stomp on the throttle, then I'll hear it. But other than that, it's pretty silent up until about 2,500 RPMs. The interior of the Hyundai Elantra N-Line is pretty similar to that of the regular Elantras, but there are a few subtle changes. Okay, maybe subtle isn't the right word, but there are some changes that you're going to notice. Firstly are the seats, which have quite a bit more side bolstering to them, which is always nice in a sporty car. And the second thing that you're going to notice is that this has analog gauges instead of digital ones like you would get in the Ultimate trim of the Elantra. I'm totally fine with the analog gauges, but I would change the tachometer and the speedometer. I'd make the tachometer right in the center rather than the speedometer like how it is right now. But that's just me. Also, the other thing that you're going to notice is the drive mode selector right here on the left. On the Elantra Ultimate, it's just a circle that looks painted on. This one, I'm okay with it. The only thing is, it kind of looks like a pimple and you just want to pop it. Maybe that's just me. I think it is just me. I'm weird. Just leave it at that. Anyway, the infotainment system is really responsive and super simple to use. The 8-inch touchscreen is flanked by physical buttons on either side and actual knobs for volume and tuning. Climate control, super simple to use and understand. A couple of USB ports underneath, and it has wireless charging further down. As for interior space, 6'4" of me fits no problem. Plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom up here in the front. Really good driving position and good visibility all around. In the back, it's actually not that bad behind my driving position. My knees are just barely brushing up against the back of the front seat, and as is my hair, it's brushing up a little bit up against the headliner. But you know what? I'd be okay with being back there behind myself for, I don't know, an hour, maybe 2 hour long road trip. I'd be okay with that. The new Elantra has the most trunk space when compared to the Civic and Corolla. The Elantra has 402 liters of cargo capacity, whereas the Civic sedan and Corolla sedan have 379 liters and 371 liters respectively. The 2021 Hyundai Elantra N-Line comes very well equipped with heated seats and heated steering wheel, wireless phone charging, wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto connectivity, sunroof, automatic climate control, blind spot sensors, forward collision alert with emergency braking, lane departure warning with lane centering, and remote start, to name a few. One weird thing about the gadgets in the 2021 Hyundai Elantra N-Line is the fact that it has a lane centering system, a very good lane centering system, but it doesn't have adaptive cruise control. Normally you do get one or the other, or both in a lot of cases these days, But usually if you get one or the other, it's the adaptive cruise control as being available and the lane centering not. In this one, it's the opposite, which is really weird. As for how this new Elantra looks, I think it looks awesome. Not only does it have the full light bar around the back, but these taillights, they kind of remind me of Volvo's daytime running lights, the Thor's hammer. And with the addition of this spoiler on the back and the shape of the trunk, especially right here, kind of looks like it has a ducktail spoiler almost. And also those exhaust pipes are real. Around the side, it looks fast even when it's standing still. And on the front, it has a really big grille, but you know what? I'm actually okay with it this time. And these daytime running lights, they're separated because of this line for the hood and the front bumper. And they have a bit of a knurled shape to them. It's really hard to see on camera, but in person, they look really, really good and have a lot of detail in them. Also, the turn signals, which I cannot see right here, are actually hidden inside the front bumper. Overall, I love how it looks. I think it looks awesome. The 2021 Hyundai Elantra N-Line cost $27,600 Canadian. But you know what? That's actually not the most expensive Hyundai Elantra that you can get. The ultimate trim of the Elantra costs more, albeit it does come with a few more features, but this isn't exactly a base model either. So for a sub $28,000 car with 200 horsepower and quite a few features, I'd say it's worth it. Of course, it doesn't have the manual transmission here in Canada, but as I said in the video, I'm okay with it. And for daily commuting, I much prefer an automatic over a manual. And in a way, that just shows that I'm getting older, because 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said that. I would have easily picked the manual over the automatic. But thankfully, this isn't a CVT. Otherwise, it would be a different story. This 7-speed is actually pretty decent, so I'm okay with only having an automatic option here in Canada. Anyway, if you want to know more about this 2021 Hyundai Elantra N-Line, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck, or it'll probably be an SUV next time. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.